Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, August 15th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown, so if you are somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple of clarification points. Number one, this price you see over here will still be moving around, and the candlestick there you see will be moving around. That is because the market is still open for a small amount of time, but I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement, but the market is also close enough to being done for the day where everything I talk about will still be relevant as we head into Monday. So stock number one here, NVTA. Been doing this one quite a bit and showed some nice strength earlier on in the day before rolling back over here. But it's not like this rollover at this point was any sort of massive crash or anything like that. I would just classify that as a simple pullback, which now presents us with a nice potential breakout point here for a Monday. And that key breakout point being right there at that trend line. So let me actually change that to red to represent more so a resistance. And that puts the price of that breakout right around $6.20. So if you are somebody that likes to play breakouts, then I'd say keep an eye on this level. And if the price can recover back up to that trend line and then get a breakup through it, of course, there are no guarantees. But is it valid? Is it plausible to think that a break of that level right there could create good solid buying pressure? That is certainly a valid thought process to have. So keep an eye on that from a resistance standpoint. As far as areas of support are concerned, the level here that stands out going to be down here at the bottom part of this consolidation area, which sits at $4.35. You can see a couple of times already the price has been down around that area and has held very nicely. So keep an eye on that if there is any sort of pullback. But moving into next week, I think a whole lot of people will be keeping an eye on these levels, especially that breakout level up there. So let's see how it goes on Monday. Next one here, EMBK, and what a beautiful, beautiful pattern here. Just a classic one that you could throw right into a textbook if you're, doing some sort of technical analysis pattern book here. But a lot of people will be watching this pattern, and I say that because when a lot of people are watching the same levels and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So let's get this pattern here drawn into play. First part of the pattern is right here, and this general trend line right there. Next part of the pattern is this general bottom of the trend line. So let me actually change that again to green to represent more so the bullish dynamic of the pattern. And then maybe to make everything a bit easier to see, let's just convert it to one color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the huge momentum move right here. To make it a little bit more visual for you golfers out there, we'll put the golf hole down here, and this will be known as a bull pennant pattern. So again, no guarantees, but is it plausible to think that if the price can work its way up to the top of that pattern and then get a breakout, that break in and of itself could create quite a bit of upwards buying pressure? That is certainly a valid conclusion to reach. So if you like to play bull pennants, if you like to play stocks down around this price range, then definitely keep an eye on it next week. Next one, ticker symbol AMC, and this is what would be known as a gap and trap. So a pretty brutal day. Price closed here on Thursday, opened up there today, hence the gap up, and then after the gap up, just basically dropped the rest of the day. So gap and trap would be the best way to explain today's price movement, but keyword there being today, as in one day. When you take a step back and look at a bigger picture, the overall price is still within a general overall uptrend, but like I said, nonetheless, you can't beat around the bush. Today, in and of itself, was a rough day with that gap and trap, but overall, trend is still upwards. But after today's price movement, we did get more data with the next kind of key level that I would definitely consider the main area of resistance, and that's right up here at that $27 mark. So keep a close eye on 27 moving into next week as that main area of resistance. Again, generally speaking, you can see twice now the price has been up around that area there, and then this morning, and both times the momentum has disappeared. So keep an eye on that $27 mark. But now with this bigger pullback here, as far as key levels of support are concerned, first level to watch will be the purple line right there, which is the 50-period moving average. So you're going to want to keep a close eye on that. That's a level that can tend to act as support, even if there is that self-fulfilling prophecy attribute that comes with it. But then nonetheless, that'll be that first key level that you'd want to watch. And then as far as levels of additional support are concerned, if that 50-period moving average does not hold, the next key level after that would be down there right around that $23.40 mark. So just to reiterate, yes, today in and of itself, not so good. But looking at multiple days, everything is still fine. The overall chart is still in an uptrend. Next one, ticker symbol UBX, and another gap and trap here, which is why I wanted to put it right after AMC to, just kind of illustrate the general thing. But the price opened up here after a big gap up, and then from there, just continued to sink and sink lower as the day went on. However, overall, there's actually still a bullish pattern, which I understand can sound completely bonkers given the fact that this thing was a gap and trap today. But again, if you just were to sit back and draw everything in the sense of, yes, there is this downwards channel that has formed, but then you consider the big momentum move right here, there is a bit of a bull flag pattern in here. Now, I 100% understand and respect if you're saying, now, Clay, I think you're kind of trying to fit a square peg through a round hole. I understand where you're coming from, and you're not wrong at all. But hopefully you can kind of see where I'm coming from to an extent. So is this like the flawless, perfect bull flag pattern? I'm not making that claim at all. But is it something that's at least worth keeping an eye on? Absolutely. And that is the idea behind a watch list. To find unique, to find interesting situations, and not randomly rush and buy them, but to watch them and see if they ultimately do behave in a way that makes sense to you. So like I said, completely understand if this one doesn't end up on your watch list because you think that I'm crazy for trying to say there's a bull flag pattern here. But if you can see where I'm coming from, then yeah, worth at least keeping an eye on. Next one, TTOO, and the downwards move continues. But the reason why I keep watching this one is it still hasn't closed the gap, and those gap closures are where some potential reversals can occur. And for those of you that have watched past videos this week, then you know what I'm going to talk about. But that green line down there, which is representing that 16-cent mark. And like I said, the price has not even gone down there. So no guarantees. But if the price were to go down there, is it valid? Is it rational to think that the price could then get some sideways movement and then head back up? Yeah, in my mind, that is a plausible conclusion. That could play out there. And just from a risk-reward standpoint, a very favorable risk profile. Because assuming you can honor stop losses, then yeah, if you're wrong, okay, you have a very minimal loss. If you're right and it does bounce and turn around, you could have a whole lot of reward compared to what was being risked. So continue to watch that 16-cent mark there. I think that is going to come into play, and I'm very curious to see how the price behaves when it does. Real quickly, wanted to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online training that I'm offering next week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it should be used, and why, quite frankly, it's just so powerful as a tool to build consistency, then certainly get signed up for the free training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right on the webpage you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more, certainly get signed up for the free training. Next one, MULN, and what a huge mover this one had today. As you can see here, price started off a bit rough, but then just absolutely exploded. However, this is also where the interesting dynamic comes into play, because wouldn't you know it, look right where the price got rejected, right up there at that pink line, which on my chart denotes the very well known, the very famous 200 period moving average, and that's exactly why it's very well known, because it does tend to act as resistance. Now let me be very clear, that does not mean that the price will never ever be able to get up above that level. I'm just saying it makes sense why the price did get rejected right there. So moving forward, you're going to want to keep a close eye right up there around that 86-cent mark, give or take, as that main area of resistance, as it made itself very, very apparent with today's price movement. But also within all of this, there has been, a good solid pattern that has formed. So we have some movement here. So again, a bit of a downwards channel here that's formed, but then you do have a very nice upwards movement. So I am much more confident in saying this is a bull flag pattern. The other one, obviously, there is a little gray area, but this one I would say, I would assume pattern players can agree that, yeah, there's certainly a bull flag pattern here. But the one thing that you do need to keep in mind is even if the price is able to come up here and push through that level, you still got to remember, yeah, that 200 period moving average. So you don't want to get overly anxious and say, okay, great, the bull flag is broken, and then have it get smacked back down by that 200 period moving average. So I'd say make sure that the price can clear through there too in order to get the cleanest possible break as possible. Next one, BBBY, very nice movement here. And quick little example, do gaps have to close? Absolutely not. And you have a case of that right here. Price was going for the gap close, never actually hit it, as you can see right there. Certainly got close, never hit it, and then turned itself around. So for the people that are saying, oh, all gaps have to close, yeah, those people got left in the dust. So no, do gaps close a lot? Yeah, sure, but that nothing actually has to happen in the market, because that would imply that there are guarantees. But as far as BBBY is concerned, moving forward, the big level here that, again, I promise you, this is not a great discovery. This is not a special skill. A bunch of people have drawn that line right there up at the $13.20 marks. Let me get that changed to red. So you're going to have a huge dynamic of self-fulfilling prophecies and all sorts of people watching that level. You can see that in the past when the price was up there, both there and then again a couple times today, both there and there, the price ran out of momentum. So no guarantees, but is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price can get up to that level and then break up through it, that break could create good solid upwards buying pressure? That is certainly a plausible conclusion to reach. So yeah, all eyes on $13.20 next week on BBBY. So let's see what happens with it. Next, VEEE. Yes, 3 E's. VEEE. Love this pattern here. Absolutely fantastic. And we once again have that, whole talking point of self-fulfilling prophecies. So let's just map out, the first part of this pattern, and you have, what I would say is a pretty well-defined area right here. You have a nice well-defined, level of support down there. And I realize I'm kind of discarding some of this area up here as far as the pattern is concerned. But like I said, I'm most interested in the fact that, yeah, this thing made a big move up and it pulled back. And then I'm trying to highlight here the actual consolidation part of this entire formation. And that's what, really catches my eye. So it's essentially just a question of, let's actually get an official trend line put in a play there. But in my mind, very, very interested to see how does the price behave around that area, which sits right around $7.25, because any sort of break of that level would imply and would make it a valid conclusion that, okay, maybe this, sideways consolidation is over, and maybe this thing is getting ready to make a much bigger move to the upside. But you don't want to jump the gun. If you are someone that likes to wait for confirmation and wants to see, okay, is there going to be confirmation? Is there going to be any sort of signal that maybe this consolidation is over? Again, a good way to, kind of answer that question is see if it can break back to the upside of that consolidation. If you're someone that likes to play more so pullbacks, then interesting pullback level here would be down here at that level where the price has been down several times, around $6.20, and so far so good, has held strong. So overall, really like this one and the nice pattern it's formed. Next one, TSLA Tesla, and this will mean a bit more to those of you that have watched the past videos, but if you have, hopefully remember me talking about this trend line over and over again and saying that, I think it's going to play a big role, and we finally got that big role today when earlier on in the day came up here, broke through that level, and then you can see from there the rest is history. Just made a very, very nice breakout and is continuing to break out as I speak right now during this last 30 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do some house cleaning, get rid of these lines down here as they've all served their purpose at this point, and we can zoom in now and talk about some more levels that are relevant in terms of, the near-term action. So the next key level of resistance headed into next week going to be right up here around this level, which sits at 900 and let me make sure I'm getting that right. Yeah, $913. So 913, looking back at the history of things, you can see that a couple times price got up around that area and then did get rejected. So keep a close eye on that if this thing continues to grind higher and higher. If there are any sort of pullbacks, then the level that I'm very curious about is just this former breakout point, which is a good old-fashioned rule and technical analysis. When levels of support, when levels of resistance are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So right there around the 892 mark, my question, kind of just thinking out loud, is does this thing do something where it comes back down here for a micro pullback and then heads back up? We'll have to see what happens with it. But nonetheless, great way to end the week for Tesla, and let's see if this momentum carries into Monday. Next one here, ticker symbol VERU, and a big congratulations to those of you that watched the previous video where I talked about this one and specifically talked about that breakout point right there. You can see earlier on in the day, it did struggle with it right there, but then finally the price came up there, gave it another try, and right there made the move and absolutely exploded up through that level. So again, for those of you that watched the previous watch list video and took advantage of that, big congratulations to you. That's awesome, and hopefully you scored big on it. But let's map out some new levels now moving forward, with the newest level being same principle. Levels of resistance tend to act as support. So if there are any sort of pullbacks, you can see that this area here at $18 was the level of resistance, but now that the price is above it, if there is a pullback, then valid to think that that could act as a level of support. As far as areas of resistance are concerned, let's see here. I feel like this is, the highest it's been, in a very long time. So essentially, we'll go back here, and that makes this very straightforward. So in terms of levels of resistance, very straightforward. Just a question of, well, where did the momentum finally stop today? And that was up there at essentially, let's see, was that $9, and let's just call it 25 cents. So like I said, nothing complicated at all behind that other than just where did the party stop, where did the momentum stop? Right there, $19.25. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, nice breakout, nice momentum. So let's see if it gets continuation into next week. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and how it should be used as a trader and why it's just so powerful in building consistency, then get signed up for the class next week. Like I said, it'll be Thursday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So I hope to see you there. As far as the top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, then do two things for me, please. Hit that like button, leave a simple comment, say hi, tell me what you traded today, tell me what you're watching next week. But those two things go a long way, and they help out the channel as a whole also. So I really do appreciate it. And those two basic things really do go a long way. So definitely get signed up for that free class next week. Hit the like button, leave a simple comment below. Everybody, thanks for watching. Take care and have a great weekend.